For the Love of Swimming is a podcast that celebrates the wonderfully diverse community of swimmers and fantastic swimming opportunities that exist on the Isle of Wight off the south coast of England. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Sandy Ciccognani. In 2019, I started the group Outdoor Swimming Isle of Wight as I wanted to find people to swim with in the sea. Since then, I've been on an amazing swimming journey, meeting some wonderful people who share my passion for swimming. I founded a social enterprise to support and encourage people to swim in the sea, trained to be an open water coach, developed the concept of a sea cafe, and have brought the sport of longe-cote, renamed sea hiking, to the place where I live. I'm part of the outside research study team based at Sussex University, looking at outdoor swimming as a nature-based social prescribing intervention for depression, and I work in the voluntary sector on the Isle of Wight. For the Love of Swimming is also the name of a series of community events that aim to share information and inspiration and to connect people through swimming. So if you're lucky enough to live on or visit the island, look out for these events coming soon. Follow us on all the usual social media channels and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast for more personal swimming stories. Today I'm with Fiona Claxton. Welcome, Fiona.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Nice to be here.
Can we just begin by, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell me what sort of a swimmer are you?
Okay, yes. So I am a member of the Marlin Swim Club, have been for around 8 years now. So I wasn't actually much of a swimmer as a child. So it was very much something I got into in my early 30s, where I'd had quite a lot of back trouble through the years and struggled to find something where I could keep fit and active and without doing myself to any damage. So I got into swimming, which was a fantastic way of relieving tension through work. And so I just joined a local pool and swam 4 mornings a week before work. And basically, I've just kept going from there. So I was a pool swimmer to start with. When I moved to the island, I used to swim for a short while at the Seaview Swim Club, which sadly is no more. And then a friend said, why don't you join Marlins? So I did. And haven't looked back from that, really. So we swim 2 mornings a week at the Heights Leisure Centre in Sandown. Really great bunch of people. It's a fantastic opportunity to do your own thing. You have your own lane space. So whether you're recuperating or you have a training plan, it's a fantastic way to swim, I find. And then when I was a child, I was born in Worthing, so we spent every weekend at the beach, which was amazing. And so I always now have to live near the sea because I love the beach and everything about it.
Do you remember where you learnt to swim? Was it in the sea or in the...
No, it was in the pool. And as a child, I probably remember the sea more for splashing around, having fun, playing games. So not so much for swimming, although I'm conscious I was always in it, so which was fabulous. Yeah. And then, of course, moving to the island really spoilt for choice. So I retired 6 years ago now, and a friend from Marlins during the COVID lockdown and just after, when we were allowed to get back in the sea, got me into sea swimming.
What was that like? Do you remember the first few times?
I do. I very much, and I just remember I think my first swim was at Puck Pool around there.
Yeah.
And I remember the amazing clarity of the sea. And just, being able to see so much and it being about the whole experience of that as well as the swimming.
Yeah.
So it took me a while, I have to say, to adjust.
What time of year was that when you started? Was it
I think
March
it was June. No, it was June, which to me was still freezing cold. But obviously to a hardcore sea swimmer, it's no problem at that time. But no, I loved it. So I met more people through sea swimming, obviously, and I still do that. I mean, I am quite chicken in that I don't keep it going through the winter, but probably sort of April, May, and then through to, well, it depends, November, December, if the weather and the conditions are okay. So And I have a friend who we're both sort of similar speed of swimmer. So we, unfortunately, her garden backs down to the Solent. So that's an amazing place to go and swim. But I live near Yavelin. So that's just stunning place. We're so lucky, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, so I'm, really, that's my swimming history, and hopefully it will go on and for, as many years as I live. So.
And do you have a favourite stroke?
I really only swim front crawl now, because I found that suits my back better. And I just love the fluidity and the feeling of that stroke. So, so that tends to be occasionally backstroke, but that's my favourite. So,
What about kit? Are you a sort of swimsuit and swimming cap swimmer, or do you wear wetsuit when you're in the sea?
I've got a shorty wetsuit, which has become my favourite because I hate the whole getting in and out of a full length wetsuit. So probably more often than not, I would be in that, with a cap. Yeah. And sometimes double capping if it's cold, because I like to get in, I like to get my head in, and I like to swim rather than splash around, really. Yeah. So, and I find I need that. So I've probably got quite a lot of kids. Yes. Yes.
And what about, you said it was relatively recently that you started swimming in the sea. Do you have were there any fears, or are there any sort of things that cause you anxiety when you're swimming, Jen?
And not too many things. I think the thing I did notice, which was, I'm not a great traveller, and I did notice when the sea's a bit lumpier that I started to feel sick on occasion. So that was a real, I didn't even
a lot of people don't realise.
No, absolutely. And I find it strange that there are some days when I go in and I think, this is going to be a day where you feel a bit sick, but I'm fine. And then other days I think look quite calm, but I guess it's just the way the tide's going rather than necessarily the ferocity of the waves. Yeah. So that was a surprise. I don't tend to I'm quite comfortable out of my depth, and if I'm doing a slightly bigger swim, I tend to take a toe float, which I think, whether or not it's an actual security feel, but yes, exactly. So, and I don't swim on my own in the sea, so there's always somebody there. Yeah. So I've had a couple of occasions in cold water where I've felt a bit dizzy. Yeah. But fortunately, it was fine. I recovered, but it does, I think, make you remember that the seas, the marks. Yes, absolutely. You have to respect it and know your limits as well, I think. So
you said you swim at Yavelin and Seaview. Have you got a favourite place to swim?
I think it probably would be Yavelin, actually, because that stretch of the sea itself at the beach is very nice. Just the view of the cliffs. I love that. But having said that, I swam at Totland a while ago, and the thing that struck me there was just the colour of the sea and the sand. So that also would be up there. I think it's a bit further to go, but well worth it. So yes, but I think probably Yavelin for me is my place where I, if I think about sea swimming, that's probably where my mind goes to. Yeah.
And do you go back to Worthing? Out of interest, is it a nice? Should I go there sometime?
Well, it's quite stony. I mean, I would go there. My family are based just north of Brighton, so I go there quite often. And actually, the Brighton pier-to-pier swim club, who are coming this year to support us, they do their own pier-to-pier swim. So I keep saying, well, I must time a visit right and go and do it. Yeah. So it's all good. When I was a kid, we used to go to Goring Gap, which was a fabulous sandy beach with a grass area in front of it. Yeah. So we used to, play cricket and rounders and then run in the sea. Nice. So that was a lovely area. But I think anywhere coast is, any sea is good, isn't it?
Let's move on to the pier-to-pier. For those do you want to describe it for those that have never heard about it before?
Yes. So the pier-to-pier the story goes that it started many years ago.
This is the Isle of Wight, is it?
This is the Isle of Wight, so a pier-to-pier sea swim, yes. Started many years ago by, it's said, a group of fishermen challenging the longshoremen to a competition by basically jumping off Sandown Pier, swimming the 1.8 miles across Sandown Bay and finishing at then Shanklin Pier, which sadly is no longer with us. And that was the basis of it. And it went through, I think, several guises, lapsed for a few years, and then was reinstated in the 1950s by a gentleman called Terry Wood, who sponsored our 2 Fastest Men, Fastest Ladies Cup that we still present today. So, and basically in those days, I think there weren't as many people. So I think maybe, around 30 people took part. They did jump off the pier, which we can no longer do. I say sadly, but probably
because I heard it was quite terrible.
Right. I've spoken to a couple of people who did it then, and they talk about, the cold water shock and not being able to actually swim anywhere for about 5 minutes. So that's, yes, probably best that we don't do that. And in those days, I think, the youngest age, I know somebody who was 9 when he first did it. And I think there were around 30 people who did it. So a much smaller affair. If we fast forward to this year,
how many have
it's 200. So we were a sellout very quickly at 200 people. And we've got a waiting list of over 60 now. So fantastic that so many people are supporting the event. And the really great thing about this year is that nearly half are island based. So that's a lot higher representation than we've had in the past few years. So
yes, I know our club, Ride Swimming Club.
Yes, you have many. Yes, absolutely. No, there are quite a lot of it. So Sea Close Swim Club, as I say, Brighton coming over, which is great. White Trial. I mean, many sort of local and actually distant sort of swim clubs supporting as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So
and again, do you want to describe how it works? So at the moment, I think I'm right in saying the men go in first. Is that right? We line up along the beach.
Yes. Yeah. So we start at Sandown Pier, by the side of Sandown Pier, and yes, traditionally we would have 2 groups line up. So men go first, ladies line up behind them. So we do a count to make sure we've got the right number of swimmers that we checked in.
And we all have our numbers.
And you all have your numbers on the hand, so we know who you are and we can check everyone in, which is great. This year we also have a 15 to 17-year-old category for the first time in recent times. So they'll go off first, a smaller group, but great to have them. And yes, everyone runs into the sea, round the first buoy, hopefully heading towards Shanklin. So we have, the other thing I should mention is we have fantastic support. So we couldn't run the swim without the expertise and time given generously by many people. So many Marlins Swim Club volunteers. Sandown Shanklin lifeboat sort of manage the safety aspect alongside us, which is great. We have many independent kayakers who volunteer. The Deep Sea Fishing Club at Shanklin bring along many sort of fishing crafts, keeping the fishing connection there, which is lovely. Ride Lifeboat come along, Ride Lifeguards. We finish now at the Shanklin Sandown Rowing Club, where everyone tucks into a well-earned bowl of soup and a roll and a drink that they've well deserved. So yes, many people help us. So hopefully everyone makes it across the Sandown Bay, and with the help of all the kayakers and on water support. And then, so we try and make it obvious where the rowing club is. But I think from the water, I've seen myself, it's not so easy. No. So we've tried to invest in big sort of visibility aids that will help people this year. And you run up the beach, and we have a funnel at which we have our timekeepers waiting. So we've instigated improvements in the timing. So we use an app timing system now, rather than manual, which has helped no end.
Yes.
So that's one of the things that has enabled us to increase the number of swimmers that join us. So.
And you've got a number of different sort of cups and medals and things.
We have, I think, or I should have thought about this, but I think it's 24 that we award now.
Yeah.
So both, we have the different age categories for men and women. This year we add obviously 15 to 17. Yeah. We have the medal cup for breaststroke, best breaststroke swimmer. Most people tend to swim a front crawl, but a few breaststrokers. It's only in recent years as well that we allowed wetsuit wearers to enter, which is a little contentious because the tradition of the swim was always a skin swim. But, it's great. Again, it just allows more people to enter and enjoy the event. So we're happy to do that. And then we have the very prized oldest swimmer, which is the biggest cup, quite rightly, I think. So this year, coincidentally, we actually have a 71 year age gap from our youngest swimmer to our oldest swimmer. Who is Jenny. We know and love. We're very proud to have Jenny as a member of Marlin Swim Club. And then we have 3 people who are in the 15 years old. So, and I think that just for me is, shows the spirit of the swim, that so many different, swim levels can join in, different age groups, whether you're an individual or a member of a swim club, you might be a triathlete, you might just have started during lockdown, maybe your sea swim career, as it will be, open water swim, but it's just great that people can do that.
And it is such a nice swim, and I think swimming along the coast, it gives you that, well, certainly a lot of people, a sort of sense of security that they know they can get out if they need.
Yes, I think that is very true. Yes, I mean, there's always support there if people need it, and we do ask that people can have reasonable confidence in open water before they join. But yes, there is always that, the safety net really there. And it's stunning. We get so much fantastic feedback after the event about both the event and how friendly it is. And also just that fabulous coastline and, the whole island experience. I think coming across on the ferry or the hovercraft, it's just all part of the island experience, isn't it? So,
and for those of us that live here, it's a really nice place to meet up with lots of swimmers that might not have seen for a long time.
Absolutely. And I think one of my favourite things is, if I get a minute, I don't get many minutes on the day, but is just standing there and looking and hearing the laughter and, people just meeting up, because maybe they only meet once a year at this event. And that's true for islanders and mainlanders alike. So it's just absolutely. I wish we could bottle that sound.
Yes.
It's amazing. Yeah, really good.
Good. So, what's the day like for you?
Quite long, and it starts. Well, I go into a craze about a month before, looking at every weather app I can find, and I try not to do it, and I try to tell myself that it won't make any difference and the weather will be what the weather will be, but I still do it. And if I look at a weather forecast I don't like the look of, I just go and find another one that maybe will look better, which is just a total self-torture.
But they can be very different, can't they?
They can be very different, and they change, which is totally unfair as well. But so the first thing is, I suppose the day does start early, because I usually get to drive the trophies up to the end, and then I get my bike out at the van, cycle down the revetment, and that's my peaceful bit of the day, really, just breathing the hopefully the rays and the lovely ocean smell. And then when I get to the Sandown lifeboat station, then it all kicks off, because we always make a decision about the swim on the day of the swim, unless it's last year, unfortunately, both days we lost because the weather, it was just obvious a couple of days before it was going to be horrendous. But usually we would delay the decision until around sort of 8:30 on the morning of the swim. So that's our first job. So everyone, all the volunteers are either at the end or the beginning at that point. So we make the go decision, hopefully, and then we set up the registration points, get that open. We've got people setting up the beach, start and finish points, hopefully reserving our place. So we've actually got a place to start and end from. And then we wait for, the swimmers arrive, the kayakers arrive. So they arrive at the end, paddle down. And I love seeing them, come down towards Sandown. You think, well, that's one of the things that, we really enjoy seeing. Yeah, the lifeboat is taken out and set in motion. And then, yes, everyone starts to arrive, and the buzz, the anticipation grows and grows from there, really. So we close the registration about an hour before the swim, and then we get the swimmers together. I think now we've got 200. It'll be on the beach, not on the revetment. We do a last sort of safety briefing. So we send information out to swimmers beforehand, but we do sort of more of a refresher on the day. And then it's time to line up. That's when my nerves really start, because you see all the swimmers lined up and you think, oh, wow, what am I doing? This is just such a lot of people. But, then you just have to go back to, we've got a lot of expertise. Everyone knows what they're doing. We've got the processes, bedded in now over several years. So you just have to take a deep breath and trust that. And, it works. Yeah. So, So,
have there been any hairy moments while you've been involved that you have?
Not really. I mean, we've had a few swimmers who have unfortunately had to retire through, they get cramp or, they just start feeling uncomfortable and they just raise their hand in the air. And, so that whilst it's always a shame to see that, that's worked. We've never lost anyone. No. I think Actually, the last time we did the swim, there was a lady who hadn't arrived back, and her family came down and said, she's not here. And when we looked out, the lifeboat she just kept going. So, and we couldn't stop her. She was just on a mission, just kept going. So eventually the lifeboat managed to get her attention and turn her back round. So she must have swum an awful lot more than 1.8 miles, bless her. But it wasn't her first event, but, she just, just kept going. Yeah. Obviously having so much fun. Yeah. So I think that's the work and again, that worked because we knew she wasn't back. We could see her. So that was all good. And, have a few swimmers, I think, get nervous at the beginning, but that's maybe just, take a deep breath and settle down. Because it's nervous watching and, people going, let alone what it must be like to actually start. So, yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. And do you want to say something about we're coming up to a big anniversary, aren't we? So.
We are, yes. So this will be the 70th year of the swim in its current form, I think, as a competitive swim. So we understand that even back in the 1930s, there was a pier-to-pier swim, but I think it was a relatively informal one. So it was in the 1950s that it was resurrected. So we're one of the things we haven't got as a club, I think, and we need to have is the history, how the peer-to-peer developed and evolved, really right back as far as we can go. So we're doing quite a lot of work to look in sort of local archives and work with various organisations to try and sort of piece the picture together. Yeah. And we've already got some lovely stories from people who have been involved through the years. And we just like more of that. and more photographs.
Yeah.
So we've got photographs probably from the later years, but the 50s and 60s, unfortunately, there's not so much of that around. So if anyone listening has any of that information, if they could get in touch with Marlin Swim Club or just search pier-to-pier sea swim Isle of Wight, then you'll find our contact details, because it would be great to celebrate that with swimmers and spectators on the day, but also to hand it on. So, you know, as hopefully the swim will keep going for many, many years. And, you know, the recording the history and protecting the heritage, I think is very important.
Yeah.
It's an iconic island event now, I think.
Definitely.
So we need to, you know, keep that history recorded somewhere.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. Anything else that you'd like to say about your swimming or about the Marlins or anything at all, really?
Well, just that I think, as I see for many, many people, you know, whether you swim in a pool or a sea or the sea or a lake or wherever, I know, you know, in Marlins, we're quite a diverse group of swimmers. So we have people who just swim open water. We have people who would never go near the sea, despite us trying to tempt them. And like we have like myself who enjoy both pool and open water. So I would definitely say, you know, if you like both of those things, we're a very friendly club. You don't have to be an amazing swimmer. Do come along and join us. Again, look on the website. We love speaking to new members. You don't have to come along every week. There's no pressure to do that. But again, it's just nice to, you know, swim with like-minded people who just, you know, love swimming for its own sake, and all the health benefits and I think mental well-being as well that it can bring.
Yeah. I mean, this podcast is called For the Love of Swimming.
Yes.
What would you say? What gives you that love of swimming, do you think?
I think just the feeling that I get every time I get out of the sea or a swimming pool, I feel about 3 inches taller. All my aches and pains have gone. And just, I feel calmness as well. And sometimes, you know, in the morning, I think, I don't want to get up for swimming. I just want to stay in bed. And every single time, I'm glad, about 2 minutes after I've got in the pool or the sea, I'm glad that I've done it. So I think that, you know, I think everyone should swim. I would love it if, you know, I think it's just the best sport to be involved in. And I'm so grateful that I found it, really. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Fiona, so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me.